The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, greetings from Minneapolis, everybody. Come to your cordless. It's Wednesday night, October 29th, 2025. It's 9:01 on the East Coast of the United States, 6:01 p.m. on the West Coast, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8:01 p.m. Central Time. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 288. Mark your scorecards. There'll be a test someday. And I'm just sitting here, and they're playing the theme music, and I'm dancing in my chair. That's what I do. I kind of move my buttocks around. You don't want to hear about it, do you? No, no, you don't. You don't. And if I'm right, I think our 300th show. Well, I know it's going to be the week before Thanksgiving, but I think it's going to be our last show before Thanksgiving on Thursday, whatever that is, the 20th or something. I don't know. I can't remember. 300, man. God knows. How the hell did that happen? Our guest tonight is JOE Wolverton. He's a constitutional law scholar and a prolific author. He's written 5 books. We taped this afternoon. He's a really interesting guy. And, you know, I said this, I've said this like last night, and I've been keep saying this. I first of all, Kimberly, who books our show, God bless her. This woman, she's brilliant. These guests we have, they're just absolutely fantastic. They're just incredible. I can't thank her enough. JOE is a very, very interesting guy. He's got a lot to say about the Constitution, about the direction of the country, and how things are going. And I think you'll enjoy this. Now, you see the bottom of the screen here, little ticker. See that? We're taking calls tonight, open phones, after the interview. So that we're going to play the interview, and then after that, we're opening the phone lines. The phone number is 325 call Jim. That's 325 225 5546. We have not been opening the phone lines lately a lot because frankly our shows have been stuffed full of stuff, and I don't like to go longer than 90 minutes, even though sometimes we do. But yeah, so at any rate, we got the phone lines on. You call in if you want. I'm talking about any and all subjects. Everything's open. Anything you want to talk about is, I don't like to, you know, if you read if you study talk radio or read the trade publications, they're constantly talking about things to pitch to your listeners for call-in subjects. I don't even want that. Just call in and talk about whatever you want. Here's the deal. You're the guest. I have guests on the show. I'm an interviewer. That's what I do. So you want to be interviewed? Call in and I'll interview you. Okay? Sound good? I know our friend I think is going to call in. He's a regular caller here. He texted me last night. Yeah, but any and all comers, man. We're good. So, yeah. And so tomorrow night, Nils Grivet, we have a double show, double, as they say. I don't know why I find that funny. I have no idea. I'm just a racist son of a bitch, I think. Well, which is not good because, you know, I'm a first generation American and my parents are foreigners. So that's not a really good thing, is it? No. We got a double show tomorrow. Nels Grevelius is joining us. He's the Los Angeles private investigator, and I think he's going to set a record here. This is going to be the 3rd time we've talked to him, I think, in a month. Well, actually, we talked to him about 3 weeks ago, if I'm right, and then this last Monday, we ran his rerun of that show in our best of because we did not do a show. So he's going to come on. We're talking specifically about the Louvre heist in Paris, where they stole the crown jewels, about how they pulled that off. He's an expert at this stuff, so he's going to tell us. And we got another expert after that, Jonathan Lockwood, the military strategist and historian, is coming on, and he's going to talk. We're going to talk to him about Trump's trip to Asia, and specifically his meeting with President Xi of China, that afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. So, yeah, that should be really interesting too. Now, if you've never heard Jonathan, Jonathan has written 2 books. One of them they use at West Point as a textbook. That's how smart this guy is. Former Army colonel. He's like, Jack Keane is on Fox News all the time. Well, he's our Jack Keane. That's the way I look at this. So we were anytime anything's going on in any military or global diplomatic aspect, we have him on. So he knows a lot. And I like people who know a lot. I like that. So now the deal is the phone lines aren't open yet. We'll open the phone lines as soon as the interview is finished. And with that, further ado, in 12 seconds, here's Joel Worldin. Stay tuned. Joining us from his office in Memphis, Tennessee, distinguished author and scholar Joe Wolverton. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing so good. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Let me read some of your
Sure.
credits here. You're the constitutional law scholar for the John Birch Society, and you write for the New American Magazine, and you're the head of the Make America States Again project, right?
That's right.
And you've written 5 books. I'm going to quickly read them off here. By Compact, Not Command, The Miraculous Life and Legacy of James Madison, What Degree of Madness, The Founder's Recipe, and the Article 5 Guide for citizens journalists, which Joe, I bought, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So I'm looking forward to that. I bought the Article 5 Guide.
Well, get into it. It's one of those ones that I'm very proud of because it didn't take me long to write because it sort of writes itself. I have found that it's been the most, it's moved the needle the most when I go and testify at the legislatures across the country. These legislators, they don't have time to dig into a tome about the arcana of Article 5, but I present this, bullet pointed 80-page book where each page is a collection of bullet points describing a problem with the Article 5 process, and I've had great success with it, and I'm very proud of it.
But you just touched on something there. This is kind of a problem for even a lot of well-meaning people. There's an enormous amount of people like you who are doing really great work and putting out an enormous amount of stuff, and nobody has the time to keep up. And isn't that one of the problems we basically have with society and our constitutional government in general? Is that it's very, very difficult to remain educated, basically.
Yeah, and you cannot, as Jefferson warned, in a state of civilization, you cannot be ignorant and free. Right?
Yeah.
And so we have to be educated to remain free. And one of those things that I learned early on when they brought me on as the constitutional law scholar, the inaugural constitutional law scholar, one of the things is they said, we're going to have to make these things briefer, more accessible. The things that are great and wonderful, and you can sit around salons and talk about them all night. But how are you going to move the needle? How are you going to get a state legislator who's also an insurance salesman to care and to have any sort of registration in his brain about why I should listen to an Article 5 debate? And it came down to the fact that, boy, if I can bullet point this business, then we got a shot at it. And I think that that's one of the greatest things I've learned is to be briefer and
Yeah.
to be more direct with the communication. I learned that from Thomas Paine, who, the author of The Crisis, and he, in one of his letters, he says, I could go on, but if I don't change people, what does it matter? If I
Right.
can out argue everyone, but I don't convince anyone. So that changed me many years ago into being, I guess, more direct of a writer, more polemical of a writer.
You've written this. Your biography of James Madison has gotten tremendous reviews.
Thank you.
And so, touching on what you just said, what putting yourself back to 1800, how is? I mean, life has obviously changed. We have electricity, but in terms of attention span and time for thought. How do you think life has changed since then?
Well, I think one of the biggest deficits that we have is, and not just from my own experience, but from having read the words of the founders and the words of the men that inspired our founders, something that we don't take time to do, that they all universally took time to do at one time or the other during the day, is to just quietly ponder the things that they'd read or heard and reorganize it in their mind, categorize it in their mind, classify it in a way that you can access it when you need to. And I think ponder, which, we get our word pound, meaning to weigh. I
Uh-huh.
think if we take the time, if every one of us would take 15 minutes at the end of the day and take, one of these little books that we all, carry around with us, it seems like, and at the end of that day, just ponder and really think about those things. We'd have an increase in personal insight that would clear up a lot of the confusion that we seem to have. And I think it would also help us be better communicators, because we have to communicate with ourselves first. And I think if you can sit at the end of the day and say, all right, Joey, what I read this today in the Aeneid, what was he talking about? Why does that matter to me? You know, and figure out why it mattered to the great men of the past, and then why it should matter to me, and adjust my life accordingly. I mean, I know it sounds silly, and
Oh, it
it sounds
doesn't
sort of
sound so.
backward, but it is the most forward thinking thing you could do, that educated men have been doing for thousands of years.
We're just too damn distracted now,
Right.
Joe.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't. I'm just going to interject my opinion here. Uh, I I can make a legitimate claim to being one of the developers of social media, and I have to admit I regret my involvement. I think in the long run, it's done more harm than good, and that's saying the fact that there are a lot of good things about it. There are,
Mhm.
but say we just not, people have become addicted to the dopamine hit of their phones,
That's
and
true.
no one, now this is really interesting too, or it is to me. I don't know if you'll find it interesting. I went to a dinner party last weekend, about 16 people, all highly educated. But we're talking about politics, and besides the fact that I disagree with most, I live in Minneapolis, one of the most liberal places in the
Mhm.
United States. I disagree with many of my peers, and besides that, the real thing I was struck with is that s- too many people have their facts wrong, you know? So now in my business here, it's really easy. And remember, you get a lot of attention by literally spewing literal bullshit. What do we do about that? Is there
Well,
something to do?
no, I think the only thing to do is, first of all, realize that there is no reward. This is something that, if you read, there's uh, an article written called "The Independent Whig," written in 1721 by John Trenchard. And he's basically, I'll paraphrase it to make it easy. He says, there's no reward for trying to convince knuckleheads that they're knuckleheads. You're never going to do it. And there's no reward for trying to do it. You'll just bash your head in. Right. And so he says the best thing to do is to identify those people who are humble enough to be taught, and then spend your capital teaching them. Spend your time, your talent, and your treasure in the company of those people who you can persuade, who you can influence, and reject wasting time with those who are simply going to reject everything you say, or who will answer you in ways that, like you said, is complete rot, and it's not true, and it's rubbish. But what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and argue with them? No, don't, because there's no reward for that. Take your time and your talents and turn it toward people that you might have a lasting influence over. And boy, you'll see the difference very quickly, which is what I've had to do, because most of the time, it's, I hate to use this word, but it's sexier to argue with people that disagree. It draws the clicks, it draws attention, but it's much more satisfying to talk to young people, for example, every Friday at 2 p.m. Central, I have a 1 hour lecture about the forgotten influences on the founding fathers. Those kids come alive with these writings of these men. And that's satisfying to me, as opposed to I could sit here and argue with some raging liberal about how they're wrong about this, that, or the other. But it doesn't satisfy me the way it does talking to these kids and inspiring them and influencing them.
Oh, personally, I've definitely learned your lesson. I don't bother to discuss with anybody unless I think I can
Oh
actually
yeah,
change
yeah,
their mind.
yeah.
Uh, and for the vast majority of time, that's not the case.
That's
So,
right. That's
no,
right.
no, there's very few people. I mean, my former CEO when I was an editor called Bill O'Reilly my boyfriend because I agree with him so much.
Oh my
But
goodness.
Bill says very, he says all the time, people believe what they want to believe, and that's very true. There's
It
nothing
is.
more around. There's nothing more around that, getting
And
around
it's good to inspire people, if you find people that are like-minded, but they lack maybe some intellectual depth, some gravitas, help them. Give them a little bit of information. Tell them direct them toward a book to read or an article to read. Give them a little help in their efforts to increase their ability to argue their side. I think that's a great way to kind of do kill two birds with one stone. One, you're educating, and two, you're helping someone feel more accomplished and feel abler to argue our side.
I was reading a blurb about your book on James Madison. How did we get so goddamn lucky that to get all these guys together? And getting back to just what you were saying, they did not all necessarily agree with each other most of the time either,
Mhm.
but they managed to basically slog this out and come up with this unbelievable form of government. And you said, or at least the blurb said for your Madison book that Madison actually looked back at former forms of government like the Roman Empire and the idea was to not do the shit that went wrong, basically, right?
Yep,
So,
that's exactly right.
yeah, so how did was this just divine providence? Did we just get lucky? What the
Yeah, I think it definitely was the best blood of the 18th century. I think God had his hand in it. There's very little doubt in my mind that James Madison and Washington and all of those men, Jefferson, James Wilson, they were all sent at about the same time for the same purpose, and that was to establish a place where we could have religious liberty, where we could worship according to the dictates of our conscience, and where we could be free from tyranny. And of course, it had to be redeemed through the shedding of blood, which they were willing to do and did. And I think we just got fortunate in that way. But I would say that if you were to ask them why this happened, they would say, well, because we did the heavy lifting, because, they were coroners, if you will, looking back on the lifeless bodies of self-governing societies of the past and saying, what killed these self-governing societies, and let's inoculate our own society against contracting those same diseases. And they tried their best. You had people like Patrick Henry who said, regardless of what happens, we're going to lose our virtue when we gain wealth, and he was right. And I think Mr. Madison knew that, and his colleagues knew that, but they also believed that we could fight for it. And I don't think that we've lost that fight. I mean, I do believe that liberty once lost is lost forever, but I don't believe we've lost it forever, because I do believe there is a growing groundswell in this country of not only religious revivalism, but a sense of we noblesse oblige. We owe something to each other, right? We owe something to preserve this great heritage that we've been given by our founding fathers, and we can't just continually expect to drink water out of wells we didn't dig and eat the fruit of trees we didn't plant. We've got to get busy ourselves cleaning the wells, digging the wells, planting the trees, nourishing those trees, and pruning the trees, to be honest, to get that fruit nice and juicy like it needs to be, so that we can do. I mean, we don't often think about the Constitution's preamble when we often say, we the people. But do not forget that the one of the big promises we make in that preamble is to hand down the blessings of liberty to our posterity. Are we doing that? Are we about to hand down the blessings of liberty to our posterity, or are we handing down chains to our posterity? This, I believe, God will hold us accountable for how we answer that question.
You I've never thought about this before, ever, and you just kind of inferred this. Capitalism itself is not enshrined in any of the founding documents. Was it just assumed by the founders that this was going to be the economic system going forward?
Yeah, I mean, they understood a free market system to, you have in 1776, Adam Smith published Wealth of Nations, which so happens to coincide with the Declaration of Independence, of course, in 1776. So you had this idea that that the free market would be the liberty would be the tide that lifted all boats, that we wouldn't need government interference, that we could use our virtue and our wisdom to negotiate with each other, thus the invisible hand of the market guiding everything where it needed to be. And so we call it capitalism because that's the word that's handed down to us. They would have just called it a free market.
But I I have a lot of economists on the show, and we talk about this a lot. The the invisible hand very definitely works. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people can't. It's counterintuitive, and a lot of people can't accept it. People just can't understand how something that isn't planned ahead of time seems to actually work. And then just get to the current day. I mean, now we have in New York City and also here in Minneapolis getting a lot less attention, but we have the same thing going on here. We have two people running for mayor who are basically avowed socialists.
Right.
Now, the socialism has never worked anywhere it's been tried, and yet people still. The basic thing is, well, we no one's ever done it right. That's basically the argument, right? Which is
Right.
complete bullshit. But one of the things is that my impression is that people who adopt that philosophy, not I don't want to say legitimately or sincerely, they can't buy the invisible hand. Do you think that's true?
I
Or
think that's
why
absolutely
do you
true.
think that is? Why do we keep doing this experiment over and over? It's been 100 years. It never
Well,
works.
yeah, I think we are convinced, and even James Madison says it in Federalist 46. We convince ourselves that we're gonna be different this time.
Yeah,
We're gonna be the ones that are able to do it this time, not socialism in his case, but talking in the case of socialists, they really think that we're gonna be able to be the ones to do it because but what do they base this on? There's no history to base this on.
right.
There's no
There is.
economics to base it on. They base it on this ephemeral notion of hope, but that burns off, and then what are you left with? You're left with force, which at the end of the day, that's the primary engine of socialism is force.
Well,
You're
Joe, the thing
forced to do
with
these things.
Marxism is that it makes it on paper, it makes great sense. That's
Mhm.
the thing. You read this and you think, "Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine."
yeah.
The thing is, in practice, it doesn't work. That's the problem, and no one seems to understand that in any other way. I don't know.
I would hope that we'd be able to understand it from, it's like, what's that saying? Experience is the worst schoolmaster. You want to learn from someone else's mistakes, not from your own.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that we don't have to learn many more times that socialism is a dead end,
Well, you
literally.
the reason I brought this up is you were talking about, forgive me, who was it, that
Adam
said
Smith.
that said that basically, our wealth will become,
Oh, Patrick Henry. Yeah.
yeah, right, and the thing is, I mean, has that happened? I mean, I think one of the problems here is we have become so wealthy as a society, we take it for granted.
Yeah, I think that we do take wealth for granted. I mean, I think there's so many things that I talked about this the other day with someone is, if my, I don't know, great grandfather wanted tomatoes for dinner, why he had to go out to the garden and hope there were tomatoes on the plant and cut them and all of this. And before that, he had to go out to the garden and prune and dig about
Yeah,
and nourish. I just go to Kroger and the effort well, I mean, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, no,
The
I know.
effort it takes to have 1 tomato and 100, to me, is the same amount of effort.
Uh-huh.
That would be mind-blowing a few generations ago,
Yeah.
that's the same amount of effort to do that, and so I think, yeah, we've become very lazy, we've become very accustomed to everything being right at hand, to not having to work for anything, and so, yeah, I think our wealth has created a lassitude and has created a lack of virtue in that we think that we can get something for nothing and we can get it quickly, whereas previous generations knew that hard work was required for anything worthwhile.
The really terrible thing is you don't have to go back that far to
Right, right.
see that. I
Yeah.
mean, we've the world and not of course, not everybody does, but the world has only basically had enough food for the last 80 years.
Right,
Before
right.
that, virtually everybody did not
I
have enough food.
Yeah, I remember telling I gave a lecture to a class of 14-year-olds at a high school in Arizona, and I'm like, "You realize that 90% of kids your age around the world right now are either in a field or a factory,
Yeah,
and you're sitting in an air-conditioned room listening to me prattle on about the Greeks or something, and most kids your age are in a field or a factory." And you're complaining. This is who we are. You're
yeah,
complaining that you're in, this is in Phoenix. I'm like, it's 106 outside. It's 75 in here. And you're complaining, but you're not being dangled by your heels into a cobalt mine.
right, or you're not chained to a desk
Right.
manufacturing shoes. Right,
Precisely.
yeah.
But we don't think about it like that. We don't think about it like that. We
Is
just
there
think about,
is there an antidote to thinking this way?
I think hard work. I think that every generation we have an opportunity to teach our children the value of hard work. So I think, it's incremental. It's like one of the heroes of our founding fathers named Henry Vane the Younger. He would always say, it's a generation work. You've got to realize this ain't going to happen overnight, but generation after generation, you can retrain the human mind to appreciate hard work and the the nobility that comes from hard work. And so I think that's our mission in front of us, is to take this next generation, help them realize that, that piece of glass in their pocket is not the end all be all of joy and hope. That there is dirt out there to get under your fingers. You can create, you can become a partner with God in creating. You can do that, right? You can go out and do that. And let's get that feeling back. It's like James Madison talks about whenever he would start to get in his head, he's like, I would take off my shirt, grab an axe, and go out back and just cut wood until I couldn't lift the axe anymore. And he's like, because that would remind me of, one, my dependence on God for my strength. And number two, it remind me that I am able to provide with God's help if I want to. I don't have to sit here and have my life brought to me. I can go out, as the old country song says, I can skin a buck and I can run a trot line,
Yeah.
right? And so that kind of attitude, we can teach that attitude again to every rising generation, and we can have a restoration of the enshrinement and the exaltation of hard work.
You wrote an article just this couple weeks ago on the New American about the feminization of America.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and, I kinda and what you were just talking about strikes home to me because my father I'm a first generation American, and my father was a physical laborer, and I sometimes think, I mean, to use a colloquial term, I've just become such a pussy.
Yeah, no, I talk about that all the time. I was the first person on either side of my family to even go to college, man.
Yeah,
Both of my parents were sharecroppers in the Mississippi Delta. These people knew hard work. I've never had a day of hard work. I was an attorney and a professor. I've never known hard work in my life. My dad rarely knew a day that wasn't hard work.
right,
You
right, same
know,
here. Yeah,
so here I am, sitting in this chair surrounded by books that are hundreds of years old, and making more money in a year than my dad made in his lifetime. Why? You know.
Well, that's actually my next question. How'd you become obsessed with constitutional law? What
Well, no, that
what
that I don't know. Everybody always asks me that. When I was little, very little, like 5, 6 years old, I asked my parents for a collect I saw in the I collected comic books. I read Thor comic books, and I saw an ad in the back for collectible cards about the founding fathers, and I asked for them for my birthday or something, Christmas, my birthday. Got them and never stopped being fascinated by all things constitutional. I remember in 2nd grade, I won some award for my constitutional law essay that I wrote, and just always have had a fascination and a fondness for it and felt close to those men. And I think, ultimately, the gratitude that I feel not only for what they accomplished, but the way they accomplished it and the way they just got on with their business impressed me. And, yeah, so I've always been interested in that pursuit, and I was blessed beyond anything I deserve to have a job where I get to do those things for a living that feed my soul because so many people don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is astonishing how people get obsessed with things. I
Mhm.
mean, and it's great because someone's obsessed with something, and
That's right.
that's the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter what it is.
I love that, and I love that so much. One of my best friends is a crazy, incredible musician, and I couldn't play my way out of a bag, but I can appreciate it, and so, yeah, I love it. Be obsessed with your thing and do your thing better than everybody else,
Yeah, that's what I tell my nieces and nephews that same thing. It's like, just get obsessed with something. It doesn't matter.
Precisely. Get
It doesn't
obsessed
matter
with it.
what it is.
That's right. Write it out, man. Get obsessed with it and be the best at that thing.
You've written about a lot about the sovereignty of states, and
Mhm.
I don't even really know. Is that what the Make America States Again project is about?
That is, I wrote the book, What Degree of Madness, which is subtitled Madison's Method to Make America States Again, because I was giving a presentation about Federalist number 46, written by James Madison. And people every time I'd give this presentation on PowerPoint, people would say, well, you ought to write a book about it and explain your presentation. And so finally I just did. I said, fine. And basically, what it comes down to is in Federalist 46, James Madison is answering Patrick Henry and saying, look, Americans will never go crazy enough to allow the federal government to become tyrannical. They will never do that. And he said, if by some degree of madness, craziness, hence the title of the book, if that ever happens, he's like, here are weapons that are powerful and at hand in the Constitution to force the federal beast back inside its constitutional cage. So, what I do and what degree of madness is the first part of the book is what Madison said would never happen, but most certainly did. And then the second half of the book is okay, now that it did happen, how do we get back to where we're supposed to be constitutionally? And he says, here's the way states can do it. And basically, like I say, it comes down to states must reassert their constitutional sovereignty over the federal government, who was meant to be their agent, who was meant to serve their benefit, not vice versa. And like I said, Madison describes those weapons as powerful and at hand. We don't have to range outside of the Constitution. And ultimately, and I'll tell you this is by far the most powerful line in Federalist 46. At the very end of the letter, Madison says, look, at the end of the day, every American man that I know is armed. And he said, I should hope that we would put up as vigorous an armed defense against an American tyrant as we did against a British tyrant,
Did
ultimately.
so? Did we descend into this relative madness because of the aforementioned affluence?
I think we descended into it. No, I think affluence, no. I think the first step was um, allowing Marxism to gain control of education. I think if you look back to the late 1800s with the influx of Prussian influence in the Northeast United States, you will see that spread of Marxist influence all over education, where they purposefully take out so much of what was dear to Western tradition.
So you think it goes back that far, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think if you and I wanna do a book about this, but heaven knows there's, not enough time, but, I wanna do a collection of all the speeches of the politicians who were promoting federal and state, even state departments of education. You would not believe the express motivation. Some of these people out loud saying, "We're doing this so as to break the hold of Christianity over the minds of American young people. We want to break up families where Christianity is handed down as a tradition. We believe Christianity is a superstition, and we do not want it handed down and shackling us. And so, in other words, and in order to break those shackles, we need to put secular organizations in control of education." It's really shocking when you go and read them.
Well, in some ways, these people are still being
Oh, 100%.
overt about it. That's right. William Ayres, one of the Weather Underground guys, he
Yep.
said in the 1970s, he said, "We'll take over the country by educating your children." I mean,
Oh my goodness. You give me a boy till he's 7 and he'll be a communist when he's 70.
well, and that's already that's happening. I don't know this, Joe. Are you actually teaching somewhere right now?
Well,
You have a like full
ish. I
time.
have a book club. Yes, I have a book club that I do Fridays at from 2 to 3 Central, where we study the 37 books most often quoted by the founding generation.
And I was going to ask you about that because I saw a blurb on that. Like,
Yeah.
give us an example of somebody that the founding fathers like revered and followed a lot that we don't even know anymore.
Algernon Sidney.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
a
I
yeah,
don't know that name.
this is a man they called the Apostle of Liberty. This is a man who, when he was 14, John Adams was so moved by the story of his martyrdom that John Adams wrote a eulogy for Sidney. Sidney was executed in 1683, right? But he's a name that's been completely forgotten. And he wrote, discourses concerning government, which Thomas Jefferson said, if you haven't read it, Sidney's Discourses on Government. If you haven't read that, he said, you don't understand why we fought the war for independence. He said that book should be put into the hand of every American as soon as he's old enough to read. And no one's even heard of it today. I mean, we're talking American history professors haven't heard of it today.
Right.
And this is a guy who they all universally adored and quoted all the time. And no one's ever heard of him. Samuel Pufendorf, another top 10, influence, never heard of him. People have never heard of him.
I
And so
have
I used to do a thing on TikTok where I would go to, American history professors and give them these names and see if they could identify any of them at big universities, Arizona State and University of Utah, a place like that, and they could never identify them because these secular Marxists have purposefully erased these names. Because I'm telling you, man, once, and this is every Friday at 2 o'clock, when these
on
kids,
YouTube, is it?
what's that?
You're on YouTube, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, right.
teacher of liberty. And you hear these things, and you're just like instantly, you're like, okay, now I know why those guys were willing to, take a bullet for liberty, because this stuff fires you up. Whereas the stuff kids read today, Dick and Jane and Spot, that ain't firing you up. But James Madison and George Washington weren't raised on Dick and Jane. They were raised on Sidney and Trenchard and Gordon, who pull no punches and get you fired up for a defense of liberty. And they make you feel that it's your Christian obligation to defend the liberty wherewith Christ has made you free. These guys took this seriously.
Most of
And
these guys were wealthy, and they
yeah,
didn't have to do this at all.
that's
That's
right.
the thing.
Not
They
only were they wealthy, they ended up bankrupt because of doing it.
yeah. They put their lives on the line for something they actually believed in, and their money. They
And
put
their
their money
money.
down. Right, right. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, very much worthy of our emulation, very much worthy of our study. And yeah, you can go online to my well, in fact, if you go on to the jbs.org/founders, I have audio lessons for all 37 men most often quoted by the founding generation, and present audio lessons on that. But I also do video lessons on my YouTube channel as well.
Uh, this is just off the top of my head. Basically, the number of the founding fathers. I mean, people can debate on the fringes.
Right.
It's about 50 guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I drew the line. I think if you look at my founder's recipe book, I basically said anybody. I had a bigger selection. I said anybody at the first or second Congress, Continental Congress, anyone at the Constitutional Convention or the state ratifying conventions. So I ended up, I think if you added up 200 guys, I
Uh
think
huh.
total, right at 200 guys who I considered founding father. Now, as I put in the book, the Founder's Recipe book, some of those guys are varsity squad, some are JV,
Right.
right? You won't recognize all of them, but we do have a varsity squad of Madison, Jefferson, Washington, Adams, those guys that, you think of the pantheon of founding fathers. And but then you have some down ballot guys who were nonetheless no less serviceable and did good work.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I understand why you're obsessed with what you're obsessed
Oh,
with.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really do.
There's
What
so much
what
good stuff to be learned.
what does the future hold for our republic, Joe?
I think we have a religious revival that is coming, and I'm happy about that, and I think we have.
It does seem to be coming. Yes.
Yes, and I think that's mounting, and I think that we will eventually be pushed to the place where we've got to decide some form of political reorganization, and my hope is that we can maintain the union and that we can reorganize sovereignty back into the balance of the states so that we don't have to have a war, hot or cold, and so that we don't have to have secession, but so that we can have a constitutional union held together by common principles. I hope that's what's happening. And I hope the religious revival undergirds all of that desire.
But reading about you to prepare for this, I kind of got the impression that you were kind of against a constitutional convention. Is that true, or
Yes, that is true.
uh-huh? And I what I read or what I inferred anyway is that you think basically kind of what I think too, and that is it really shouldn't be necessary, right?
Right. Unnecessary and dangerous. I see no reason to expose the Constitution to that sort of threat when we haven't used all the other weapons that we have in the arsenal.
And I was going to ask you, getting back to Madison, what were some of the tools he said that we, what were they?
Yeah, he said we should have governors that refuse to cooperate with unconstitutional acts of the federal officers. We should completely refuse to cooperate with the federal government. We should have the legislatures of every state pass bills that just blanket nullify any unconstitutional demands of the federal government. We should have the people themselves in the different states should organize themselves together with one spirit of resistance and join together and communicate with each other when they see the federal government overstepping the boundaries of the Constitution, and to never let even the slightest thing go, that as a people we should unite together and call out the federal government for even slight offenses so that they know that we know that there is a limit to their authority, and we plan on being that limit If they won't limit themselves, we will show them the limits.
So, what do you think about what's going on, like, at this very moment? As an example, I personally find the idea of sending the, National Guard into cities to enforce law a little distasteful, but on the other hand, I find more distasteful the fact that some of these cities, like in Chicago, 50 people are getting killed every weekend. I mean,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
that's ridiculous.
well,
So,
I'm sitting here in my hometown, and the National Guard is here in Memphis, and,
yeah,
we had a lady the other night, and I'm like you, it's prima facie, it's very distasteful, and I find it a bit overwrought, but I also see where you've got, in our local news, we had an interview with a young lady, a young mother, and she said, a young black lady, and she's like, "This is the first time in my neighborhood I've been able to walk outside with my kids and not worry about hearing gunshots or, being
right.
harassed by gang members." And I'm like, well, you can't really argue with that.
That's the thing, I know. There's a pragmatism to some of this that you just can't argue with, even though maybe and then even the same thing with the Trump administration bombing these, narco boats, now they're in international waters. I understand and you know the law way better than I do. There's a distinct possibility that this is illegal, but on the other hand, every one of those boats is killing fentanyl that's going to kill dozens of Americans at the minimum, and so you wonder, well, geez, it's a war, isn't it? I don't know. It's like these are modern problems.
Yeah, we don't have a what would you say, a vocabulary adequate. And I think that comes all the way back around to how we started the conversation, to education.
Yeah,
We don't know how to talk about these things in an educated way because we've never been put in a position where we're allowed to do that. You have to have instant feedback. You have to have a sound bite. You can't sit around and just you and I discuss on, well, is that illegal? You and I could discuss this till the cows came home. Is it illegal? Is it pragmatic? Is it wise? And that would be a great discussion to have. But at the end of the day, like you say, did I just make it harder for fentanyl to enter the United States? Yes or no?
yeah,
That it comes down to that, doesn't it? Because fentanyl is killing people. You
right.
go you go to these towns and it's Zombieville,
That's right. I
you
know
know?
the last statistic I saw is 100,000 people in America die of fentanyl overdose
Or
every
so
year, and the majority of them don't even know they're taking fentanyl, you know?
no idea that they're not even taking fentanyl, but that it's cut with concrete, and they have no idea that they're taking little half concrete, half fentanyl pills, and would have no way of know. And that's the thing, you cannot protect yourself, and we can't protect you because the only way to do it is to blow these psychos out of the water, and then we have to sit and have a negotiation about, well, is that constitutionally right? And there are discussions we could have. I mean, I would encourage you read an article I wrote several years ago about missing the mark, MARQUE, and it's all about letters of marque and reprisal, something we don't even talk about that's in the Constitution, that the Congress has power to issue letters of marque and reprisal where you can essentially say to private people, "Hey, why don't you do this for us?" As a private organization, it's in the Constitution, a letter of marque, and if we use those, boy, but again, having that discussion is really hard when I have 7 seconds on TikTok to convince you that
Yeah, right. I know. I know. This interview is gonna be put on TikTok, in 2-minute segments, and
there you
thousands
go.
of people will watch it, but only 2 minutes at a time.
That's right, that's right, and then someone will say that to me. Someone's like, "How did you end up saying?" "Yeah, dude, I was on there for an hour. I saw it. It was only like 2 minutes long." Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, unfortunately, it's like 2 minutes is better than nothing, I guess. I don't know,
I mean, it depends on the right word in the right ear, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
somebody that might hear it and be like, "Hey, that makes sense. What is a letter of marque and reprisal? I wanna look that up."
Yeah, I've never heard of this before.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, okay, yeah,
You've educated me today. I
yeah,
appreciate it. I re and
yeah,
Joe, seriously, thank you very much for this
yeah,
discussion. I hope
yeah,
you'll come back, and God bless you for what
anytime,
you're doing.
and
It's like
same
it's
to
a slog.
you.
It's a slog. It's like what you're fighting the good fight, and it's not easy.
Well, we're fighting together, brother. I appreciate the opportunity to get the word out there for real.
Thank you. We'll
All
see you
right.
soon. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Our thanks to Joe Wolverton. I found that fascinating. You know, did you know that there was something in the Constitution about letters of marque and reprisal? I did not know that. I didn't. It's just cool to learn stuff. Now, second part of our show, usually it's a Gymcast, but tonight we have open phones, and I just opened the phone. Matter of fact, I couldn't. There's no way to avoid that. You probably heard that over the theme music there for a second. The phone lines are open. The number is 325-225-5546. That's 325 call Jim. And also, you can send us a text in real time too. I should point out, if you call our number 325 call Jim when we're not on the air, you can leave a 2-minute voicemail, and please do that if you want. That's I appreciate it, and I will collect the better ones. I will play on the air. Right now, also we have the text messaging open in real time. That number is that's also on the bottom here too, right there. 408-458-5088. And you can send us a text, and the same thing that works 24/7 too. You can send me text even when we're not on the air. So yeah, you call in if you want, and in the meantime, I'm going to blather on about something that was on the news. How's that sound? Because I do that. That's what I do. Yeah, and both. Oh no, so did I mention we're taking right now? We're scheduled to take next Thursday off, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Nels Grevalius and Jonathan Lockwood coming on, which is the reason normally I've been trying to do call-ins, open phones on Thursdays, but because we have two guests tomorrow, I didn't want to do that. I really don't want these shows to go much over 90 minutes. I don't. I don't think, you know, Wolverton and I were talking about that, about the fact that, way more people watch the shorts we post from our show on YouTube and TikTok than the show itself. I don't have to tell you that. That's true of any show that does this. I mean, thousands of people watch the shorts, like every single one of them. It's unbelievable. We don't have that many people, especially in real time right now. If you're watching this live on YouTube or Rumble, uh, we don't. Most people watch on demand, so I know that, and I think we do have a caller, if I'm right, and I think I know who this is. Yes, I do. I think it's our friend Our friend. Uh, I'm just gonna put him on here. Yeah, we got it going on. Think, are you there?
Yes. Hey, Jim. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Haven't
Pretty
talked
good.
for a while.
Yeah. What's that, Jim?
Haven't talked for a while, you and I.
Yeah, your show is you're so loaded with guests now. It's
It's
hard
true.
for you
Yeah,
to get on.
I know. I was just,
That's good.
I don't know if you heard while you were calling in, I was just explaining the fact I'm trying to do call-ins on Thursday nights, but tomorrow night we have two guests. We've got a completely full show, so I decided to do it tonight because I wanted to get it in. But yeah, it's like, yeah, the show's been jam-packed, man. So I just sent an email to our booker, Kimberly. She's doing such a fantastic job. I cannot tell you. It's just really cool. What's new on your end, man?
Just the same old. Trying to live in today's world. How about you?
Yeah, well, that's really interesting because you are of the Asian persuasion yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm Asian, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a weird race to be here in America. Very weird.
Is it? You're doing okay, right? I mean, you're kind of knocking out of the park, aren't you?
I think I am because I stay away from I worry about me and I stay away from all the I try to stay away from all the political stuff that's going on in society. I'm in the middle of all this stuff. Asian people, I think in general, are in the middle of all the stuff that's going on right now here in America. And Jim, you have to agree with me on this. It's very political right now here in America.
Oh, no,
Almost
yeah,
everywhere right?
yeah,
Almost everything has some political connotations to it. The food that we buy, the packaging, the name, everything has some sort of political correctness or something to dealing with it.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think a lot of Asian people try to stay away from that.
Well,
I'm trying my best.
there's another thing too, if you don't mind my saying so, and that is Asian people in America, I think right now are somewhat resented because of frankly, their perceived superiority. I mean, Asian people are suing Harvard for not getting in because of the DEI requirements, even though they're blowing away the test scores. And this is kind of. Do you feel this? I mean, well, first of all, do you notice, and also, do you feel it personally, or do you?
I gotta tell you, I don't feel it personally, but then I'm Vietnamese. I'm not of the upper. So Asian people are categorized in different like status as well. If you go to Africa, it's also categorized in different status.
Yeah.
But Asian people are categorized. I'm Vietnamese, and I consider my race the jungle Asian. So I consider
All right.
Vietnamese, Thailand, jungle. Yeah. We're of the lower echelon.
Yeah, but
we're not smart like. Go ahead, Jim.
No, but forgive me. You're saying you're not smart like, but the thing is, you're in the computer business. You're doing okay. I mean, I know you made some money in the crypto thing. I mean, you're doing all right, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think that's because of the influence that I had hanging out with Chinese people and Japanese people. I had this girlfriend. She was Japanese, and just allow me to say this. This is the most weirdest thing. I picked a flower for her, like on the ground. I picked up, and she stopped me before I broke the flower, and she said, "Don't do that. You're killing the flower."
Oh, interesting.
And ever since that happened, I kind of started questioning my behavior, my what is it, obnoxiousness, the things that I would do that was obnoxious, and I started changing my whole attitude because of that event.
Yeah.
And so I try my best to be as polite as possible. I hung out with these Korean people, and here in New York, I'm in New York. We would just jaywalk. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
But the Korean people that when I went to college, the Korean people would not jaywalk. They would wait for the light. And it was the weirdest thing. And I have adapted that type of mentality to be that respectful of the law. I try my best. I try my best to be very respectful.
Well,
because of them.
Do you think though that as men we're kind of naturally obnoxious? Isn't that kind of the deal?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Jim. Is it all men are that way, or is it just us Americans that are here? And
yeah, you got a point there. That's true. I've traveled around the world a lot, and Americans have. I don't have to tell you, we have a real reputation for being obnoxious SOBs. We do. But also, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was
at Xerox. I don't know if you know the company.
Oh,
Xerox,
yeah, very well. Yeah.
There was a guy that was in there. He worked there for like 20-some years. And he was there when they didn't have servers. He works in a server room. And anyway, he said that he works with people from India right now, and they always disrespect him because in his mind, he thinks that they think of him as a stupid American.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, he said something like this: they would not let me talk because I'm supposed to be some stupid American. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, how are you a stupid American? I've been doing what I've been doing over 10, 15 years. And every time I get Indian tech support, I hang up on them because I think they're the stupid ones. There's no way that Americans can be stupid compared to India. Everything we've done here in America, India is trying to copy. And I didn't get his, but that's the mindset, I think, of a lot of American people, that they're stupid. It's because of that, but that's not the reality. I personally think America is the most technologically advanced country in the world. It's not Japan, it's not India, and it's definitely not China. It's America. Look at all the stuff that has come out of society, that's
Yes.
part of society today.
I
Almost everything has came out of this country.
I totally
mean,
agree with you. Totally. And you're right. All the
Yeah.
Chinese do is rip us off. I mean, you can buy a
That's right.
copy of Windows 11 on the street in China for $5. I mean, it's like it's bullshit. That's all they know how to do.
That's
But there's two ways to look at that too. I totally agree with you on the thing about the fact that we're the most technologically advanced society on earth, and also the fact that like people in your see, the reason I brought this up thing is because you being in the computer industry and what you've done, I mean, you're still within the top 5% of the population, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up about the fact there are a lot. I mean, I look around. There's a lot of Americans who are really effing stupid. I mean, there really are. And it's like, they can. There are a lot of people in America who can't seem to do anything. Don't you think? No pun intended.
Well, yeah. Is it though? I guess it's the circle. Maybe it's because the circle of people I'm around. I'm consistently around super intelligent, like you, Jim. I talk to you. You're a super intelligent guy yourself.
Oh,
and I'm
I love
around so many people similar to you that it's like I do understand that there's a lower class group of people. I do know that, but I am not around them enough to differentiate
right.
A number. Is it that many people here in America?
I think so. And that's actually my point. Most of us, who live in a certain bubble of our own world, and we don't really see other people. But I go out a lot, and I'm walking around and stuff, and I don't know. I've had exposure to a lot of different classes of people, and there's a lot of Americans who just don't impress me. I was telling my wife this just a couple of years ago. My wife owns her own business, very successful. I said, you realize that even just within income, let alone education, you're in the top 2% of earners in the United States. And she had a hard time believing that. It's just kind of like you're saying, it's normal for you and it's normal for her, but it's really actually not normal. Think it isn't. I mean, most people don't do anything. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. I have a liberal friend that she's going through some issues right now. She went to the food bank the other day to get some food. I'm like, well, why did you go to the food bank? I mean, she's going through some issues. So I guess there is. Maybe I'm just not paying attention to it. I have this mindset. Somebody told me this before, Jim, and tell me if I'm correct for saying this, that if you want to be rich, don't hang out with poor people. Is that a good way I guess.
I hate to say it, but I think there might be some logic to that. That might be true. It's like, I don't know if I wouldn't say so much rich people and poor people as I would successful people and people who don't do anything. That's the way I would put it. Successful people who do stuff, think differently than people who don't do stuff. I've noticed that for sure. I don't know, and usually, go ahead.
No, Jim, go ahead.
I was going to say, usually that equates to income. Not always, but usually, and I do think that's true. People who do a lot of stuff think differently than people that don't.
Okay, yeah. The guy that told me that, I said it wrong. He said, if I want to be rich, don't take advice from poor people. That's what he had said. And I guess that's why I'm trying my best not to hang around like that group of people. And I've been not hanging around with that group of people for so long that I barely see them anymore. Like the poor class of people.
Right.
So I guess I don't see this huge group of dumb. How about this, Jim? I'm Vietnamese, and I got to tell you, there's a group of Vietnamese people here that do nails, some of them are millionaires.
Oh yeah, I know.
And
I know. Hold it.
yeah,
Hold it. Just a second. Think that's a really undiscovered part of America. You're right. There are Vietnamese women have a kind of a stereotype for doing nails, but the thing is, a lot of these people make a fortune. I mean, this is unbelievable. I do know that. I know you're right about that. I find it kind of humorous. I don't know why, but you never think you get rich actually like just doing nails, but you can.
yeah, some of these Vietnamese people are super rich doing nails. But the thing is, they drop out of school. They dropped out of school, and now they're just doing nails. And there's really no education. I don't know. There's no mathematics. There's no
Right.
History. There's no psychology or anything. It's just basically doing nails, and they're following a blueprint. And you can't have a intellectual conversation with these people.
No, you can't.
So, but they have a lot of money.
Yes, they do.
And how, I mean, and so are they? I don't know if they're dumb or not. I mean,
I don't. Well, you brought up a really good
know.
point. There's a lot of ways in America, to make money without having to know a lot. I mean, you don't have. There's.
Right.
You don't have to be educated to make a lot of money in the United States. You don't. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do it. And you just hit on one, which is the reason. I mean, I've always found this kind of humorous. But this thing about the stereotypical Vietnamese woman who does nails, has a nail shop, and makes a fortune. I mean, that's almost like a joke now. It's like a stereotype, But I know that exists. I got one down the street here. It's like my friend said, I said, "What do you want for your birthday?" And she says, "Oh, get me a gift certificate to Golden Nails." So I went in there, and it's like this place is packed with people, just packed. I mean, it's not small either. I mean, it's not a small salon, and it's like and I'm just thinking, holy God! I'm just thinking they're like printing money in the basement. It's unbelievable. $50 to get your nails done. I mean, okay, what does that take? It's half an hour in one person's time. Christ, it adds up quick. Shit.
Yeah, my liberal friend, she went to get her nails done. She's on welfare, and she went and got her nails done, and she spent I asked her how much, and she said that she spent like $100, and she tipped them $20.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you spent $120 on nails? Like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy. But to me, what this group of Vietnamese people that do nails is like this. Imagine the most ghetto people, like the ghettoest people, and then suddenly giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know.
That's how I see them.
You're right. Well, that's what it is. You're absolutely right. I mean, yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah. My friend said that I used to go to this pool house. So there was a bunch of these Vietnamese people that were there that own nail salons. And they got together, and out of nowhere, they decided to go on a camping trip. And
Yeah.
they got kicked out of the camping ground because they were so damn ghetto. They were making all these noise and throwing food everywhere. And so the campground kicked them out. How do you get kicked out of a campground?
I don't know. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know how you get kicked out of a campground. I really don't know how you do that. Hey, were you a pool hustler? Did you do a lot of hustling? I had a friend of mine who made really good money doing that.
I could have, Jim. I could have, but I was taught by really good pool players, and the number one rule I was told was not to play for money. If I ever wanted to be good, according to the person that taught me, was to never play for money. Because when you play for money or when you try to hustle people, you get scared of doing certain shots. You always go for the sure win, and you don't take chances.
Huh,
and
interesting.
They told me not to hustle, not to play for money. That way you get to experience more, you get to take more chances and learn more shots.
Were you rated?
That's what I don't hustle.
Were you rated? Did you have a international rating?
Well, if so, I play this type of pool called carom. It's only 3 balls and there's no pockets.
Right.
But I did play 8 ball and 9 ball, and I forgot what my rating is, but it's close to amateur. Very, very close. Very, very close.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine.
I'm not amateur.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My friend,
I-
he was he played billiards, and he was rated. I think he was rated like something like 492 or something in the worldwide, which just getting rated is actually pretty good. But he, getting back to the thing about the Indian people, if you don't want my saying so, it's terrible. I'm telling racist jokes, but still. So he went on the billiards tour for a while, and he said he was often paired with this Indian guy who was a medical doctor from India, and he said he said the guy said I know, I'm sorry, this is like gross, but I'm going to tell this anyway because I started, and he says, yeah, he said, well, my Indian friend said, he said, yeah, he was feeling really good that day because he had a complete bowel evacuation. That's the way he put it. And I could just imagine some Indian guy saying, I had a complete bowel evacuation. So I'm sorry. I found that I'm a stupid man. I find that funny. It's just like, whatever. All right. That got lost.
India is a disgusting country. Every time I see videos of India, I'm disgusted.
Have you been there?
They have.
Have you been there?
No, I have. Oh no, hell no. Two countries I will not go to. One is Egypt. The other one is India.
Oh, why? Hold it. Why Egypt? Why Egypt?
Egypt is one of the most corrupt countries that, according to all the YouTube videos that I've seen, is one of the most corrupt countries out there. And they're so loaded with scammers. It's similar to India, where if you walk around, there's going to be a bunch of scammers basically there to scam you. And there's so many of them that you might actually get beat up.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many videos of it, and I'm like, no, those are two of the countries I will not. You could put one in of Africa in there as well. That's another country that I'm terrified to go to.
Well,
Africa is
of course,
another.
I'd have to point out to you, Africa is a collection of a bunch of countries, and but in the interior, they're all in Central Africa. They're all kind of about the same, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of scared to go to Mexico. I'm kind of worried. Have you ever been to Mexico?
Yes, but I have to tell you, I would not go right now. I would not. My sister used to. She just retired. She was a travel agent, and I told her I had been to Mexico years ago, but I told her. She said she wanted to take a family trip. I said I don't want to go. I think it's dangerous. And she's poo-pooing me, and she's, oh no, that's just crap, Jim. As long as we stay in the tourist areas there, and I don't buy it. I think there. I think it's going to get worse. As we're at some point, we're probably going to start bombing the cartels, literally dropping bombs on them. And when that happens, they're going to try to kidnap every goddamn American they can find. That's what I think. So I don't know. Tell me.
Well, are we doing that right now though? With all the bombings of the boats?
No, right now we're bombing.
Not yet?
Right now we're bombing boats, where we're not bombing on land. But I think we're going to start doing that. I really do. Every indication.
How do you feel about that?
I don't.
How do you feel about that? Did you?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because JOE Wolverton, the interview we just did just now, we were talking about that. My feeling is I find it it's kind of both distasteful, and it also, from an international standpoint, it might be illegal. But on the other hand, so Wolverton and I were talking about this. So they're bombing these boats, and there's a good I don't pretend to know the law. There's a good possibility that's illegal, that we're bombing these boats, because we haven't declared war. There's not a country, all that sort of stuff. But on the other hand, there's probably enough fentanyl on those boats to kill dozens of Americans. Like literally, people. If those drugs get to shore, dozens of people will die. That's probably realistic. So it's like, what do you do? And he said that he had the same thing. I mean, it's like, on the one hand, this is maybe a questionable activity, but on the other hand, people are going to die if we don't do it. So I kind of feel the same way about sending the National Guard into Chicago too. I don't necessarily like that idea, but 50 people get shot in Chicago every weekend. That's nuts. That's crazy. Somebody should stop it. So maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
My only fear, I'm okay with bombing anything. First off, I don't know the law, but I thought that international waters, anything goes in international
See,
waters,
I
right?
don't really know the
And
law either. I don't. So yeah, you might be right and maybe not. I just don't know.
yeah, these are dangerous people.
Yes,
My
they are.
only fear with the United States bombing these cartels is the president of Venezuela. From what I know, he has ties to these drug cartels if he's not one himself.
Right.
And I think, like how you said, they might retaliate. They'll fuck them, take them out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jim. Take them
No,
out.
no.
These aren't.
And you fuck them is the right word because yeah, first of all, Maduro's fucking crazy. This he's a lunatic, and he's taken over this country and he canned the elections and people are eating their pets because there's no food. And yeah, that's what I think too. God damn it, just take them out. Shit.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with this. The United States has a huge drug problem.
Yeah.
And I can't stand. I hate it. I can't stand driving around. I'm in upstate New York, Jim, where there's country. We go fishing and hunting. We used to.
Yeah.
Now I drive around in the most like country area, and I'm seeing heroin addicts. I don't know if you ever seen a heroin addict. They're like zombies.
Yeah.
They're bent over. They look like zombies walking. I seen this guy. He took a shit against a pole, like an electric pole, out of nowhere. We were at the red light, and he took this shit, and it was diarrhea, and it just squirted all over. It was the most disgusting thing, and that's the type of stuff these heroin people do. These drug addicts do.
Yeah.
In public, it's like what the.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
It is. It's
behavior.
totally I'm totally with you. It's not civilized. I mean, this is not the way society is supposed to run. It just isn't. It's the same thing with all the people living on the street in San Francisco and Los Angeles. That's bullshit. And the vast majority of those people are there because of drugs. Almost all of them. So, my boyfriend Bill O'Reilly, he's brought up the fact that at some point right now you can't involuntarily commit somebody, to rehab or whatever. In the United States, you can't do that. And at some point we might have to change that law. Some of these people should not be hauled off to jail. They should be hauled off to a hospital. That's what, and not allowed to leave until they clean themselves up, but I don't know. I mean, you're taking away somebody's rights. So it's a crazy business, but whatever. Tell me.
Hey, Jim, I have to ask you this. This is something I've been deeply thinking about. Should we accept everything that's going on right now and just say, hey, it's out of our control? Or should we be aware of all this type of stuff and try to do things? So something like Antifa, like these are dumbass people, in my opinion. They're dumbass people, but they're taking action and doing things. Should we all be that way, or just like sit back and just let the world behave how it is and just live what you can, do what you can? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. That's a really good question. Because if everybody did something, we'd probably have societal chaos. Wouldn't we? Even if half the people were doing stuff that was positive. I mean, I don't know. Would we?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I know a lot about what's going on right now, and I hear people say the dumbest things in public, but I've come to this belief now where I just let them talk. I don't want to interfere and jump in with my ideas with them, correct them. I don't even want to correct people nowadays.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, Jim, I don't even open the doors for women anymore. Fuck them. I don't care about political correctness. I've opened the door for women, and they looked at me like I'm trying to hit on them.
I know.
I just don't.
That's the problem. You're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of guys, I've kind of stopped doing it too because at some point we started getting shit for doing it. You're trying to be polite, and then you're getting shit for opening a door for somebody, and then how many times can you get shit and not do it anymore? I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from. I do.
Yeah, these days, when I was younger, if I saw somebody, because in New York we have snowstorms and all that, if I were to see somebody with their car on the side, I would stop and try to, push their car off, back in the road and help them. But these days, fuck them. I've done so much help with people, and they look at me like they don't even say thank you. You know, it's like I'm entitled. I'm supposed to help them. And
Yeah.
I've gotten to this mindset where I don't want to interact. I don't care. Whatever happens with society, it's on you guys. I'm just going to worry about my bubble.
Well,
And this
getting back
go
to
ahead.
what you were saying, getting back to just a couple of minutes ago, where there's a distinct difference between talking and acting. So I mean, I do not. I do not. I was telling Wolverton this in the interview. We were talking about this earlier about the fact that I don't try to correct or argue or help or do anything with anybody unless I actually think I can change their mind, and that's hardly ever. And I live now. I don't. What is the political tenor of exactly where you live? I mean, obviously, I know New York City is extremely liberal. Well, you're up the Hudson, right?
No, I'm over in like Rochester area.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Rochester.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Kodak and all that.
right. And so, what I
That's
mean,
my
what is it? What is it? Moderately liberal or moderately conservative, or is like what is a political climate up there?
It's really weird here in Rochester, in the Rochester city. It's liberal. It's extremely liberal, and the more like ghetto area you go, the more ghetto it is. But then when you branch out into like Watertown, you know, outskirts where there's farms and stuff, it's super conservative. It's super radical, almost conservative.
Right.
Radical. It's hard for me, like an Asian person, to walk into these areas without somebody behaving, you know, a certain way towards me. So it's. I would say that upstate New York is more conservative than liberal.
Yeah.
Because of all the rural areas, but we still have our cities, and the inner cities are extremely liberal, drug infested, dumb liberal, like weird colored everything, tattoos all over type liberal done.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's basically where I live. I mean, I'm in the downtown core of Minneapolis, and this is one of the most liberal places in the United States. I mean, so when I even most of my friends who live in town here and stuff, there's very few conservative people, very few. So I don't even try to talk to them. Basically, I mean, they've now learned. I mean, they will have political discussions with me, and I'm kind of like not even there. They don't even bother to. I won't bother to talk to, and they don't want to know what I have to say either. So, but my point was, there's a difference between talking and acting. You can obviously blow off talking to anybody. That's not a problem. But then the question comes down to what you were talking about: is should we all be doing something? You know, and I don't really know the answer to that question. But I do think that if everybody did something, I think we'd have kind of a societal mess. But I don't know. Am I just avoiding the issue? You tell me.
Yeah, that's my question as well. Am I avoiding the issue? Should I, you know, a long time ago, I always thought that, you know, I'll join Blog Talk Radio when it was around, and I'll talk my 2 cents, and maybe something might come out of it. But nowadays, it's like, why does it even matter? Society is just going to go its course. And I'll tell you this right now, Jim. I don't like what is happening in New York City, and Mandani's, whatever, however you pronounce his name, he's going to win and turn the New York City into a socialist hellhole.
Yeah.
But so what? I'm like, so what? What happens? You know, what happens if all America becomes socialist? So what? I'm at that point right now where if that's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's the evolution of this country.
Yeah, not to mention.
Is it okay for me to think that way?
See, I don't know. Cause I kind of think that way too, because it's like, well, people, get the government they deserve. And my former boss, Jeff, he's been saying this for a long time. He said, well, let them get to have their socialist government. It'll become a hellhole. And then maybe from the ashes to that, you can do something good. I actually don't know if that's true or not, but it's going to become a hellhole. And people, I mean, I hate to keep referencing this. I don't know. Did you watch this interview with Joe Wolverton we ran? Did you watch? Because we were talking about a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah,
I saw glimpses back and forth of it.
Yeah.
I like, how did you get some of your guests? He seems like he's a law person, right?
Yes.
He's an attorney.
Constitutional law scholar. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's an attorney, but he
Yeah.
doesn't practice. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Now I have this woman helping me book. She's doing fantastic. It's like a godsend. Uh, she's just hitting it out of the park. So, I mean, and I've told you this, and I've talked about this before. Booking guests for the show is the single hardest part about doing it. It is. So, and then we're doing it and you were talking about like being on Blog Talk Radio. So, we were on Blog Talk Radio for the longest time. Basically, we closed that place up, but us and a bunch of other people. But I mean, maybe I'm fooling myself, but I would like to think that by doing this, maybe I'm making a little bit of a dent and getting some sense into people. I do think that cumulatively, I mean, I don't have to tell you, you know this. There's hundreds of shows like this one, hundreds of them, and almost all of them are conservative. There's a few liberal ones, but almost all of them are conservative. And I do think we might be making cumulatively, we might be making a dent. I don't know if I am personally, but yeah, just like just keep trying to talk sense. I mean, so Wolverton and I were talking about the fact that, and this comes up regularly. So how come socialists, and you and I have talked about this too, how come socialists can't realize that we've been trying the socialist thing for 100 years? It's never, ever worked. Not once. And even my liberal friends say this. Well, the problem is no one's done it right. Oh, bullshit. It's like how many times you have to do it before you realize it doesn't work, but they keep trying, Mom Donnie's he's gonna make the buses free, shit.
Yeah, I don't see how that's going to work at all.
No.
And well, real quick about your show making a dent. I have to tell you this. So when I graduated from college, I was going in college. If I did learn anything, it was religion. It was the Bible and all this type of stuff. And I carried that all the way outside after I graduated. And I had this mentality that I should pray for everything and everything would come to me, and almost never did.
Yeah.
I prayed a lot, and I started slowly to become this liberal idea, like this whole liberal. I was going to be one of these liberal people. But then on Blog Talk Radio, I found a show very similar to yours. The guy's name was Underground Professor, and he was straight conservative. And he was telling me that, I should live within my means, that he was correcting me on how I should live. Stop praying for everything. You have to work for it. You need to do it this way. Basically, he put the conservative mindset into me and changed my perception of how I should do my life. Instead of praying so much, work harder. And don't spend things that are outside. Like instead of wearing Nike shoes that are $200-300, wear what I can afford for now, and just live within my means, and then eventually come out of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And it was a show very similar to yours, and I think that my life is so much better because of that. And I feel it's still with your show. I feel like maybe right now it's bettering me as well, and in the future I'm going to think back and say the same exact thing. Thank you for Jim correcting me on this way, or teaching me this is how one communicates with another person. I hope I'm making sense.
You're making sense.
You are making a dent with me.
You're flattering me because I think I've learned at least as much from you as you've learned from me. So it's like,
No way. No
yeah.
way.
Yeah, I do. Now I'm flattering you. But I mean it. So it's like
but definitely I'm worried about things that are to come, especially here in New York, and I want to move. I want to move out of the state. I don't like it here. I see things getting really weird. This November, Jim, are you worried about this November coming up
Uh,
because of the whole yeah,
you
food
mean
issue?
just like the elections across the country? That is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, no. So I've been watching these videos that are because the food stamps are getting stopped
Uh
now,
huh.
or they're not. A lot of people are not going to get food stamps
Yeah.
for November, and I don't know if it's true, and maybe it's not, but I've been watching all these videos about people saying that they're going to raid Walmart and
Yeah, I've seen
so
it too.
basically they're going to be riots.
Right, I've seen this too. Right. Now the thing is, so there's first of all, I don't know how many people we're talking about. I mean, the weird one thing I figured out doing all this news shit for the last few years is that there's a real disconnect between the number of people who are actually doing some particular activity and what the press and the public thinks that number is. I mean, a good example is these No Kings protests. Okay, 3 million people went out, but they're doing those protests specifically to try to convince the rest of the public that they're in the majority, and they're not even close. Those 3 million people are in a huge minority. And so it's same thing with, now I know the thing with the TikTok videos about these people saying they're going to go out and start looting. That's not necessarily organized, but I don't know how many people that actually is. But I think the real point you're trying to bring up here is the fact there's a lot of people who think that maybe the country is headed toward, if not a real civil war, then at least what you'd call a cold civil war, and I gotta admit, I could see that happening. I can. The liberals do not understand.
Yeah.
Liberals don't understand conservatives at all. They think we're evil. I mean, that's a whole old quote from Charles Krauthammer, but it's really right, where he said conservatives think liberals are wrong. Liberals think conservatives are evil, and they do. They don't. They do not understand. They don't. And the weird thing is, conversely, maybe it's because they jam it down our throats. I think we understand them just fine. I don't think there's any problem with that at all. We totally disagree, but we understand them. But they literally don't understand conservative people. So at some point, I could see. Not to mention the fact that the country seems to be factioning off into red and blue states. So I mean, they're already talking. The blue states are already talking about doing stuff en masse. So what happens then? Then you have do we have a red state country and a blue state country? I mean, I don't. It probably isn't even geographically contiguous, but does it exist? I don't know. It's I I don't know if I don't. You asked if I was worried. I don't know if I'm worried or maybe not yet, but I could see some. I don't think that stuff's unrealistic. I think it could happen.
I have to tell you, Jim, I've been hearing. I know that all of us hear the liberals' point of view, right? Like
Yeah.
conservatives are racist and all this, but we rarely ever hear the conservative side talk back. And I'm slowly starting to hear the conservative side talk back.
Yes.
People like Nick Fuentes. I'm not a fan of Nick Fuentes. I don't know if you know.
Yes, I do.
Or not.
I do.
But he's been on. Okay, yeah, he's been on Alex Jones' show and also Tucker Carlson and a few other shows talking about that the government should be fighting back. Instead of letting these protesters be violent, it's time to really start arresting them. In fact, it's time to start hitting them, like having the police actually fight them back. And not just that, the mayors and governors that are allowing these protesters to behave this way should be arrested.
Yes.
That's what Nick Fuentes is saying. And they're not, Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, like, yeah, I agree. It's time to start arresting these mayors.
Do you think that?
Ahead,
I think that. I think they should be arrested.
100%.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, 100%.
You're making a distinction. The one thing about the No Kings protests is that you had 2,500 different protests, and apparently, with maybe only one or two exceptions, none of them got violent. And I'm okay if you want to go on the street and just protest and stuff. That's fine. But you got to draw a really clear line. If it starts to get violent, just fucking arrest everybody. That's what I think. I don't, this shit that happens like in Portland and stuff, I don't see why the National Guard doesn't come in there like 10,000 strong and literally just arrest everybody on the street. It's just pick them all up. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Right.
you know. But yeah, so
That's right. And
go ahead.
yeah, that's right. I agree with you 100%, Jim. And these protests, these liberal protests, are getting violent because the conservative side doesn't take action. It's I forgot who was it. I forgot, somebody had said that the conservative side never goes radical because of their strong morals and ethics, that they don't go radical. But maybe sometimes I think conservatives need to go radical and start behaving a little bit more aggressively. I mean, the protests that I've seen from the liberal side have all been violent. Even, I mean, come on, Elon Musk was trying to help the government with the whole Doge thing. Now, whether he helped or not does not give them the right to go bomb Tesla.
That's right.
Business.
They bomb cars.
Tesla
Right.
dealership. They were bombing cars. They were spray painting cars. They were scratching up cars. Come on, what gives you the right to do shit like that?
No,
I mean,
well, one of the things you're addressing here is the fact that we've started to normalize this behavior, and that's because of liberal
That's
culture, you know, and that's why I totally agree with you. It's like really, maybe you need 10,000 troops to do this. You send 10,000 National Guard into an area and literally just arrest every goddamn person. Just, you know, and if they fight back, so what? That's their problem. You know, they're all going to go, they're all going to have a court trial, and a lot of them are going to go to jail. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because right now there's no consequences for doing anything bad. And that's really what's happened here. We live in a consequence-free society. Nobody wants to take any responsibility for doing anything. People think, oh, we bombed Teslas, no big deal. And there's this thing in the liberal world, you know, about the fact, you know, what matters, stuff or people. You know, you've probably heard that. You know, we're not hurting any people. We're just destroying property. Well, you're destroying property, and you should go to jail for that. That's bullshit.
yeah, these people are breaking the law, and if you break the law, I always thought that you get either arrested or stopped in some way. You just are not allowed to keep breaking the law.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me.
but
beyond all that, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Go ahead. But beyond all that, I think this is going to spark the civil war right here. I think that the government should start taking actions against the political people, people that are allowing this, like the governors, the mayors, people like AOC, and I've got the mayor of Chicago.
Yeah,
that guy that's
Johnson, Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. He's saying that he's going to have an area that ICE is not allowed to go into now. He's building an area, and if ICE goes in there, the police is going to attack back. I mean, come on! It's people like this that you need to take out.
Yeah,
and I think that if
you're not only do I agree with you, not only do I agree with you, I actually think that stuff's against the law. For an elected official to defy the federal government, I think is actually against the law, and that's the reason he should be arrested. He's breaking the law.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why this administration is not arresting him, and I'm positive, if Trump arrests the Mayor Johnson, it's going to spark the civil war. There's going to be you see how they're behaving right now. As soon as Trump arrests him, all the media, all the TV shows are coming on that. See, we told you Trump was trying to be a king.
Right.
He's trying to be what's that word that Bernie Sanders always used?
That oligarch.
It starts with oligarchy. They're going to all start attacking Trump, and the media is brainwashing so many people that you're going to have all these people come out and start protesting and fighting. All these riots are going to come out, and I think that's why Trump doesn't want to do that, because he knows that if he were to arrest the mayor of Chicago, that's going to happen.
there's hints that this type of
Well,
stuff
that's the thing.
is going to happen.
I think
Trump,
I totally agree with you. I think that's the reason they're not doing it yet. But I think at some point they might. If it gets bad enough, I think at some point
That's
they
right.
might. To use a metaphor, they might pull the trigger and start doing this stuff. I really do think that. And you're absolutely right. That's what's going to happen. The liberal world will go crazy. They will say, yeah, look, we said he was an authoritarian. Look what he's doing. But on the other hand, too, that gets down to like what, I follow polls a lot because I'm really curious to see what the public's going to think. Right now, the majority, it's maybe not a big majority, it's maybe like 55%, but the majority of the country supports what's going on here, sending these troops into these cities. So, I mean, they might miscalculate. That's the thing. If they could go crazy on this, but the thing is, you might still have a silent majority of people who think that that Trump, like us, that thinks that Trump's doing the right thing. So, and then the thing is, right now the Democratic Party is they're going down the toilet bowl. I mean, they just are. They're nothing's going on. I don't know if you've seen the polling. It's like they're at an all-time low. They're not raising any money, and that's because they're basically on the wrong side of almost every issue, and they don't seem to care. I can't imagine they don't notice. Maybe they don't believe these polls. I don't know, but they don't seem to care that they are. So, I mean, I don't know. Fuck them. But I'm no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
But so I live in upstate New York, and like I said, all I see is just liberal people always saying bad stuff about Trump. At the gym I go to, in the locker room, everyone always says liberal ideas.
Yeah.
But is the rest of the world like that? Is the rest of the world like that, or is it like how the polls are saying it, that the majority of Americans don't agree with these liberal ideas?
Well, when you say the rest of the world, you're not talking about outside of the United States, are you? Because that's a whole big different deal. I mean, if you're just talking about the inside, within the U.S., I think no. I think the polls are legit. I really do. Now it's funny. I had the same thing. I went to a dinner party. An old friend of mine came back to town this last weekend. About 16 people got together for dinner. And the real amazing thing is, I think I might have talked to them about this on the show a couple of days ago, about the fact it's not just that everyone there, every single person was bashing Trump. About a half of those, I know a lot of people who are self-professed conservatives and Republicans who don't like Trump. That I find this very odd. I mean, about a third of the people at this dinner, I would say, were Republicans, and they're bashing Trump too. That I heard nobody say anything positive. I don't know if that's because you're around as people want to please people. I don't know, but I found that very, very interesting. I saw even the conservatives are bashing Trump, and I know a lot of people. Hell, there's people come on this show who I know are conservative who don't like Trump, and I just find that and don't like what he's doing. I just find this kind of interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I don't, but I think you're right about the reaction. If they end up actually starting to do that shit, the world will go crazy. And you're right, we might end up with a civil war. But like I said, I think they might miscalculate on how many people are supporting them. They really might.
Yeah. I want to wear I want to wear a MAGA shirt, a red shirt that says MAGA on it. And sometimes I want to buy a MAGA hat, but I won't do it because I know that if I were to buy it and wear it, I'm going to get into all kinds of arguments with people that yelling at me and all kinds of stuff. And that's why I say that we are currently living in such a political ideal society right now.
Yeah.
Everything is political.
Yeah.
This whole Super Bowl that's coming out, it's got political, the halftime show has got political things on it right now. The food we eat, I mean, everything is such politicalness going on right now, and it makes no sense.
Do you think it'll stop when Trump's no longer president?
Oh, man, I hope. No. Yeah, well, there's Vance.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think. How about you? Do you think it's going to stop?
I think it might lessen because the thing, I'm really fascinated with Trump as a person because there's a lot of people, and this has always been true, even before he got into politics, who just plain don't like him. And that's the thing, even among a lot of my conservative friends, they just can't stand him as a person. And I think it starts to affect their political feelings about what's going on. So I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you think your friends feel that way about Trump?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out. And it's true. It's true nationwide too. There's a lot of people that just don't like him. I mean, even the latest polling that I've seen people, the Rasmussen or something, they ask about issues and whether they think you're doing a good job. There's a lot of people who think Trump's doing a good job. But the real amazing thing is in that same poll, I saw this maybe about a month ago, they asked him, do you personally like the president? 50% of the people said no. It's like people are now acknowledging that and I think this is a good development, but they're acknowledging the fact that he's doing a good job and still simultaneously saying they don't like him personally. So, but I'm glad that I think it's good. I think it's good that people can separate those things because I don't. There's a lot. I mean, I think George W. Bush is a great guy. Do I want him as a president? No, I think he failed. I just do. So I don't think that's a contradiction. But I just find that there's people who just can't stand him, and it's like So I don't know. I think it might lessen. I mean, right now I can't imagine. We're 5. How long are we? We're 3 years away from the next presidential election. I have a very hard time seeing a Democrat winning, but it'll be really interesting. But yeah, I have to say, I think it might not completely go away, but I think it might lessen just because he's not there. People don't like this guy; they just don't. So I don't know.
I think that the programming, man, I'd never realized how powerful the media was in brainwashing everybody until Trump became president.
Yeah,
I've never seen the media group together, organize themselves into one entity, and just it seems like it was one voice.
Right.
Trump is a racist.
Right.
Trump is all this. It was like one. They just all grouped together, and then this is what we're going to push. And I'm telling you, I've never seen it happen until Trump became president. And in my idea, in my belief, I think that the government has been corrupt for so long that we never saw it. And then when Trump became president, and he exposed everything, 100%.
Yeah.
I think Trump exposed everything, but I think he almost exposed the head of this demon, or I'm trying to paraphrase the word, but this cabal or this group that has been manipulating society. I think Trump is slowly exposing them.
Yes,
and they know it, and so that's what. Yeah, right.
You're right. That's one of the primary reasons they don't like him. You're absolutely right. They're exposing. I mean, for years, Greg Gutfeld talks about this on his late night show about the fact that there's a whole bunch of stuff we accepted because we were told there's nothing we could do about it, like homelessness, the immigration thing, all sorts. Trump becomes president in January, and within 3 months, the border is completely shut down, and that's never happened before ever. And we were always told, "Oh, we need new laws, we need more money, blah blah blah." And what he exposed is the fact that's not true. It's just that people either didn't want to or couldn't do it, one or the other. They were either incompetent or ideologically opposed, one or the other. And so you're absolutely right. He's exposing a bunch of stuff that we used to just take for granted, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was watching a clip. I forgot his name. He's one of those people that officials that work for Trump. He wears the glasses. He wears glasses. I forgot. I can't think of Rubio or something like that.
Yeah, Marco Rubio.
But he was on. He was on TV saying that he was at a convention saying that the Chicago has a high crime rate, but yet they're allowing it. And he's saying, why? Why are they allowing these criminals to get out of jail and just go back in the streets? They're allowing this crime. And he also said, why do the Democrats want so much funding for these LGBT things? And they want to pass it to like Africa and all this. He said this is what the Democrat wants. But the real question is, why do they want that?
Right.
Why do they want these? Yeah, go on.
Well, there's a lot of
It
people.
makes no sense.
There's a lot of people that think that they're coddling to the criminals literally because they want them as a voting block. But the problem with that is there's not many of them. You don't. I don't.
Yeah.
So okay, you got a whole bunch of criminals in society. They're going to vote for you. Okay, fine, they can vote, I guess. But there's not many. It's the same. The opposite thing is the thing about the fact that we're going to start taxing billionaires. But there's only 1,000 billionaires in the entire United States. I mean, you can get enough money out of them to maybe run the government for like a week. It's like that's not going to work. And I don't know if they can't do the math or if they're stupid or what the deal is. But and also I think maybe the logic is, well, if we cobble together a whole bunch of these minority groups. And I don't mean ethnic minorities. I mean minorities of anything, criminals, illegal, anything. If we cobbled them together, we'd have a solid voting block. But the keeping something like it's so inefficient. I mean, it's not that's kind of a stupid idea. But maybe that's their idea. I don't know. I can't think of any other thing. I can't.
I have to tell you, Jim, I don't think that they're stupid. I don't think that any of this is just because out of stupidity. I think this is all intentional. There's a reason why they want the crime. There's a reason why they want funding for all this gay organizations, and they want this society to be a specific way, and they want this on purpose.
Right.
It's just we don't know why they want it. I think it's all intentional. I don't think they're stupid. Well, I don't think they're stupid.
It's easy for me to extrapolate one more thing here, and that is they want society to be a certain way because they want to control it. I mean, humans for millennia, right. Humans have wanted to control other humans. That's the way it is, And so, and we end up fighting back against the control. That's what we're doing. The thing about conservatism and smaller government and libertarianism and all that rot, it was basically a lack of control. And the other thing, and I talked to Wolverton about this again, this comes up regularly on the show, the thing about the invisible hand economically, a lot of liberals can't buy it. They don't understand how something self-organizes. And it does, and on the surface, it doesn't make any sense. It's counterintuitive, but it works. We know that. We've been doing it for 400 years, all the way back to the Dutch. This works. But the thing is, I agree. It doesn't make any sense on paper. Whereas, like we were talking, Marxism on paper makes a lot of sense. You think, oh, this is great. You read about that, but then it's completely flawed. You can't, when you actually do it, it doesn't work. It's just one of those crazy things. Well, two crazy things, I guess.
Yeah, I'm from what I saw when I was in Vietnam. Vietnam is a socialist country. It was very corrupt and very, very corrupt. It was a dangerous. I might have told you this story, but please allow me to say it again. I had a friend, an aunt over there, driving her motorbike, and she was driving on the road, and a city bus driver was drunk, moved over, hit her, and she flipped over. The bike completely damaged. She had somebody in the back of her motorbike that eventually died 2 years later, and the city paid them $300. And that $300 only covered the damages to the bike. Now, if that were to have happened in America, she would have made millions.
Yes.
And that money would have covered the operation or the medical costs of the other person on her bike, and most likely she would still be alive. But because whatever reason the Vietnam had for just giving her $300 makes no sense to me. And eventually, like I said, the other but that's what a socialist country is.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want for this country.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's
I don't either.
my fear of it.
Think I gotta go. We're about 5 more minutes away from 2 hours, so I gotta wrap this up. So I can't thank you enough for calling. I love talking to you. You know that.
Thanks for having me on, and it was nice talking to you too, Jim. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. You keep the faith, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's Think calling from Rochester, New York, or around there anyway. Yeah, so we're 5 minutes away from our 2 hour mark, and we need to wrap this up. So I've explained this before. We can go past 2 hours, and a lot of these shows do, but because of certain arrangements we have with our distributors, it doesn't work out well for us. So that's and besides, seriously, you have more than 2 hours to devote to this? I don't think so. Hell, I don't. So anyway, I want to thank for calling in. Great conversation with him. I want to thank Joe Wolverton. Man, I know a lot of us smart people. I'm a very lucky guy. Like Joe was a great guest too. Tomorrow night we got Nels Grevalius. He's the private detective from Pasadena, California. I love Nels. He's a fantastic guy. He's just really, really interesting. And he's going to tell he's a private detective by profession. He's going to talk to us about the Louvre heist of the French crown jewels in Paris. And I guess they've caught these people, all three of them now. But we'll talk to him about that. And then Jonathan Lockwood is coming on, former Army colonel, to talk to us about Trump's trip to the Asia and his meeting with Xi tomorrow afternoon. That's what we got going on tomorrow. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Take care.